name is Kirsty, and I acknowledge that's quite an unusual name in the States. So whilst I've been here, I'm happily accepting Christy or Kirsten as well. So, you know, anything's fine. I'm here today to talk about persuasion, data, and collaboration, building links in 2016. I've been working in SEO for about a decade now, and I am proud and delighted to say that building links is still absolutely one of my favorite things. The way that we do it has changed significantly, and I acknowledge that there perhaps will be less and less important in the future. But certainly, creating really good content and doing good campaigns and building better brands to get other people to like your stuff, that's incredibly prevalent, and it always will be. But yeah, so building links now is hard. Like, it's really, really hard. And there tends to be a few kind of common hurdles that we fall down when we build links. And over my career, these hurdles always tend to be the same kind of thing. So you have clients that say no to your ideas. Now, I run an agency, so I'm going to talk about clients, but it might be your boss, it might be people in your team, but basically people that you need to get on board with your content campaigns really, really don't like your ideas. So there's that. That tends to be the first hurdle. Or we can't get good data. Getting data is one of the most important things when it comes to earning links. Because when you have data, you have news. When you have news, you have a story. And when you have stories, you can have links. But actually getting that data is really hard and can be incredibly expensive. Or experts and independent people don't want to collaborate with what we're doing. This is also quite hard because you have so when you're kind of doing content marketing campaigns, it's really, really useful to have somebody independent who's an authority to partner with. But that's incredibly hard to get, and often people don't really want to, particularly if you're working in more like commercialized industries like insurance. Or our emails are just not very good and don't get replies. And the worst of all of these, which happens more and more and more, is we go through this process, we convince people that our ideas are great, and we get all this good data, and we get some independent expert to kind of agree with us and get on board with it, and then our emails get replies, and we get coverage, and then, oh, we don't get any links. Like, this happens all the time at the bittersweet moment when you realize you've got some amazing coverage for your client, but they've just not linked. Happens all the time. The interesting thing about these hurdles, though, and these problems, is that they are kind of fundamentally human problems. And that's kind of good, because now when we try and get links, we're essentially relying on people. And like this adorable little puppy, people can be trained and predicted, which means getting over these hurdles is a little bit easier. And that's what I'm going to talk you through for the next 25 minutes or so. OK, great. So clients that say yes to our ideas. So how do we get that? How do we get people saying yes to what we want to do? Well, firstly, I think we probably need to quit the jargon as an industry. Like, we're really guilty of this. And so many studies have suggested that if you use clear, simple language, you come across as more intelligent. So I think maybe in this room now, we should all make a promise to ourselves that we're not going to think outside the box. We're not going to generate buzz. We're not going to get FOM awareness. Let's just use incredibly plain, simple language, avoid acronyms where possible, don't use industry language if you can avoid it, and just be very clear. We should all be striving for clarity in everything that we do. Now, you can also pitch something insane. Bear with me on this one. So one of my clients is an airline, and we were coming up with like a content idea for them. And we were like, OK, so it's an airline. It's a British airline. What do British people like? British people like tea. What's interesting about airlines? Well, they're in the sky and they're high. Oh, yeah, high tea. That was our idea. So we thought what we would do is we'd take all of these journalists, we'd get them really stoned, and we'd put them on a plane. Now, sadly, this is in London. This isn't in this beautiful, glorious city where this is OK. So I spoke to some journalists about this. I was like, is this insane, or would this be a fun story? And they were like, yeah, really fun story. I'd get on board. So great. So we had some legitimacy to the idea, because people had kind of said that they'd be involved. And it wasn't, there was thought behind it, and there was data behind it. I absolutely knew there was no way this would get signed off. But I pitched it, and I pitched it as something that was a really great idea. And the reason is because the second idea I actually really wanted to do. And that was a tiny bit risky, but it essentially wasn't getting journalists high. So comparatively, it was fine. So next time you have an idea or you have a campaign that you really want people to get on board with, think of something absolutely mental and then pitch that first. But it has to be, you have to do it with like data and legitimacy behind it first. I'm just gonna have some water. Or you won't kind of be able to, you'll just look insane yourself. You don't want to look insane yourself, you just want to pitch an insane idea. Okay. Pitch ideas using questions. I'm at the risk of sounding like this is some kind of psycho mumbo jumbo, but it isn't. This is good. So, again, same client, airline. I had this idea where I wanted to create like this modern etiquette flying guide. So we've all been on a plane, right, where you're sat in the middle and somebody else has stolen your armrest, or there's a stranger next to you that falls asleep and you need to go to the toilet, but you don't know whether they wake up. I mean, this might be a largely British problem because we're all incredibly awkward. But we thought, what we'll do, we'll create a little fun guide where we talk about how you can kind of avoid those typically awkward problems. Pitch idea, largely in that kind of way. And they said no, they didn't really like the idea. They thought it was kind of negative. It didn't celebrate the joy of flying. So I went away. But I had maybe like, I was emotionally attached to this idea because I thought it would really work and get a few links. So a few weeks later, I went back and I pitched it again to a similar team, not exactly the same. And I changed the way I pitched it. So I went in there and I was like, hello. So who here has ever flown? Who's ever flown alone? Did you get the middle seat? Did somebody fall asleep next to you? What did you do? Was it awkward? Did you ask the air hostess? And one of the women really got on board with it. And she was like, oh, yeah, like, I didn't know what to do. It was incredibly awkward. I wish there was some kind of guide. And I was like, yeah, me too. Yeah, great idea you've had there, actually. Very good. And it worked, and I've done it a couple of times now. So please do try this. Next time you have an idea in your head and you think, this would be so cool, I really want to do it, but I don't know if my boss will like it, go back and create a series of questions that essentially got you to how you got to that idea. And you'll probably find people are more receptive to it. Unless, of course, the first question you ask, they go, no. No. And then that means it doesn't resonate with them, and it's fine, and don't waste your time. But do try that, and please let me know if you try it and it works, because I don't know if this is based on anything scientific, but I've been trying it, and it seems to work. Okay, so clients and ideas. So good, affordable data. I went to a conference about 3 years ago, and there was a talk, and it was, be greater with data. I kind of wish I was wearing a T-shirt with that on. And it's true. So getting links, when you have data, your likelihood for success significantly goes up. I mean, I'm saying significantly based on nothing, but I think it probably goes up loads. From my experience, it does. But getting data is really hard. It can either be like mind-blowingly expensive, or you can't get people to fill out surveys, so you end up creating a survey, or it's skewed data because it's from people who are already your customers. It's really, really hard. And then I discovered Polefish. Is there anyone here that has ever used Polefish? I mean, I literally can't see your hands, so this is an entirely redundant exercise anyway. But Polefish, okay, so Polefish are awesome. They are so good. I'm actually annoyed with myself that I'm sharing this, because I really like them. I found them on just a paid ad. They work, apparently. I found them on a paid ad, and then they're basically a survey service, and you pay a very small amount for, I think it's maybe $60 for 200 participants, and you get your responses instantly. They have a database of respondents. And this has literally revolutionized my life. And that's the life I lead. It has literally revolutionized my life. It's so good because it's affordable, and the data is statistically significant and not skewed. And they've got lots of like screening things, and you can like filter by different demographics. It's really good. If you're ever in the market for creating surveys or generating data for campaigns, which we should all be doing because it makes them really good, give it a try. I mentioned to them that I was speaking here about it, and they've given a little 30% off code for your first one, so you can try it. I really do recommend it. Great. And also, give your surveys to people who care. So this is a bit of a personal bugbear of mine, where this slide comes from. So I spend more time on Twitter than with my family. And I'm sure I'm not the only one in the room who that's true for. And I have like a little bunch of SEO mates that we hang out on Twitter. True. And what I see happening tons is my friends who work in PR or SEO or content will be tweeting their followers, i.e. the SEO community, to fill in their survey. Like, hey guys, I'm doing this campaign, can you fill in my survey? And I just sit there thinking, oh, you're making yourself look like a bit of an ass there, actually. Because if you start asking people who aren't really your market to fill out your survey, you don't really need to do it. The great thing about working in digital is that there's pockets of weirdos interested in everything. And they're really not that hard to find. So for example, if you're running a survey on plumbing, there'll be some subreddits about plumbing and active people who will actually be more than happy to fill out your survey. So next time you have a survey and you need to get people to fill it in, just try and figure out like who those people are that actually really care about what your survey is and give it to them, and you'll get better responses. Okay, so expert opinion and quotes. I'll give you an example of what I mean by this. So about a couple of years ago, I was asked by one of my clients who were an insurance brand to get some links to their pet insurance page. Now this is links pointing directly to their commercial page without anything particularly interesting on it. And I like a challenge, so I was like, sure, absolutely. I was largely certain that I wouldn't be able to do it because people don't link to commercial pages, like why would you? But I went through and I read their policies. So I read all their different policies. And basically, it's probably the same here as it is in the UK. But essentially, the majority of pet insurance policies cover homeopathic veterinary care. So essentially what I'm saying here, ladies and gentlemen, is puppy massage. I mean, the links were going to build themselves. Puppy massage. My job was done. I was like, great. And I was so smug. I created this press release, and I was like, you know what, this is amazing. Like, I didn't think I'd be able to get any links, but I figured out that puppies have massages if they don't feel very well. Come on, come on. It's gold dust. So I created a press release, talked about it. It so happened that there was actually a homeopathic veterinary care day, so I tagged onto that. And what happened was nobody gave a shit. I mean, I can't be the only person that is interested in puppy massage. I mean, I can't be. But nobody cared. And I was thinking, this should work. Like, this is a really sweet, nice story. The reason it didn't work was fundamentally because it was an insurance brand. Insurance brands don't have legitimacy to talk about puppies getting massages. And actually something that was like a nice, sweet story became a bit gross. Like, it became a bit tainted by the fact that you took something heartwarming and then really commercialized it. So I made the mistake of not having any other like campaigns up my sleeve at this point. So I sent a few emails out at about 2 a.m. in absolute blind panic to various kind of governing bodies and experts and vets asking if they'd get on board with this campaign. And my panic obviously translated and somebody felt sorry for me because the head of the UK veterinary care something, I actually knew in the press release, I didn't say it like that. She replied, and she was like, yeah, sure. And at that moment, when it was insurance company plus this independent body with a quote, the responses went from 1 to 14, 10, 16. And suddenly a campaign that was embarrassingly bad, that I'm now telling you all about, became a pretty good one. And we actually got links to a really commercialized page because we had some legitimacy at that point. At that point, we were allowed to talk about it. So that was a long-winded story to say it's very, very useful and beneficial when you're trying to get links and you're sending out press releases to not just do it as yourself, but do it as yourself with somebody else. It really helps. Hey, journalists. A couple of years ago, that slide might have just said that, but not anymore. No, no. What I mean is, so journalists tend to be relatively not hugely well paid, but what they are is incredibly smart, excellent writers, very strategic, very creative. So what we started doing was we essentially have in my agency like a content advisory board. And they are a bunch of journalists that we pay a freelance consultancy basis for their time to review our press releases, to give us feedback on our ideas, and to basically help us with our pitching. So we've got a few journalists, and I'll go to them and say, we're thinking of doing this for this client. What do you think? And they'll say, oh, maybe that idea could be improved by this. I think this press would really like it. Maybe you need to give them a ring. You need to give this guy a ring at this time because they know everybody. And I can't even begin to tell you how much that significantly helps. So if you're going to pay for anything, which we shouldn't be, but if you're paying for anything, pay some journalists to help. Pay them to help you get your press release right. Pay them to help you with your ideas. Pay them to tell you how to pitch because they know. They're the ones that know. And obviously, if a journalist has helped you with your content, they're going to be more likely to cover it or more likely to get somebody they work with to. It's really great. I definitely recommend it. And you don't have to, it doesn't cost much to pay a journalist for a couple of hours to help you out and to help improve the content that you're creating. It's really, really good. Amazon new releases. It's an absolute gold mine. It's a gold mine. Essentially, what Amazon new releases is a bunch of people that have just written a book that's about to be or has recently been published. So ultimately, loads of experts that have something to promote. And experts that have something to promote are obviously much more likely to partner with your brand because it's free PR for them. And I thought, well, you know, this might be quite limited. There might not be new releases on everything. So I wanted to test the internet's pockets of weird. And it stands. So I tried to think of the most boring thing I could think of. And medium density fiberboard, MDF, for any other DIY budgeters out there. Yeah, they have loads of stuff on it. They have like people that have just written books on MDF that are about to be published. So if you have some content and it's around a particular topic, put that topic into Amazon new releases, find an author, outreach to that author, ask if they want to get involved. And they will, it's free PR. And suddenly you have an expert on board, and it's not just a brand talking about a thing, it's a brand plus an expert talking about a thing. Makes it a lot easier to get links. Because one of the problems with getting links at the moment is bloggers and the media, they see it as, I mean, they know our game, right? They know what we're trying to do. So they see it as kind of hugely commercial, or even like a bit spammy, which is ridiculous. And that's what makes it quite difficult. But suddenly when you have something else, that helps that problem a little bit. So do try it. It's cool. Not shitty outreach. Now, this is something, so basically like I said, I've been in SEO for like 10 years. And I have a few like legacy affiliate sites and a couple of blogs. And what this means is I get quite a lot of outreach emails. And so it gives me a nice kind of awareness of how the industry does outreach, how it's changing, how SEO does it comparatively to PR. So I'm going to share a few of those examples with you now. I should say, like, some of these emails are from like quite well-known SEO agencies. So if you recognize any of them, I've blanked everything out. But if you recognize, please don't be offended. I'm not being mean. I'm just sharing. Just want everyone to know we're friends here. This is a safe space. So email, collaboration opportunity. So this is an email from an SEO agency. How are you? I've just been reading your blog and enjoying your review of her. Thought I'd send a quick email. Currently working on a campaign I think would be a good fit. Let me know. Thanks. There's a few problems with this. How you get to the point, like, we don't really need that. I've just been reading your blog. That's a lie. No, you haven't. Generally, a first interaction with somebody shouldn't be a lie. A general rule, don't lead with a lie. If you're still sending outreach emails by going, hey, just been reading your blog, stop, because everybody knows it. Even if you have read it, and you do really like the review of her, like, I'm not going to believe you, because everybody knows, like, you know it's a tactic. So avoid doing that. And this language is incredibly apologetic. I thought I would, so please just let me know. It's skirting around the direct question. Now, the most alarming thing about this particular outreach email is this email is essentially somebody saying, hey, I've got something really cool. And that's it. Like, if you've got something interesting and you think I'm going to find something interesting, tell me what it is. Because if you just go, got something cool, bye, then I'm probably not going to be that interested. So one of the key things is when you're doing outreach and you have any kind of assets or press or anything, make sure that it's all in the email. Put everything in the email. People tend to start with a more like tactile approach and like, hey, and then maybe chat and try and build a relationship first. But I've never seen any success, or I personally have never replied to that email, because when you're a journalist or you're a blogger and you're getting literally thousands of emails a day, you need that information straight away. So please don't make that mistake. Okay, let's all just take a minute to soak in Will Smith. There we go. It was rejuvenating. Best Celebrity Dad Survey. Better. Interesting. Best Celebrity Dad Survey. The problem I found with this one particularly was the subject line is vague. I would recommend when doing outreach emails, if you have a story, put that as the headline. So Will Smith voted as best celebrity dad, or whatever it was. The other problem with this is, A, they didn't include the actual data. They said, if you want the data, let me know. Well, just give it to me, thank you. Sounded rude, didn't mean to. And also, it's not fundamentally that interesting that Will Smith, Brad Pitt, David Beckham, that they're the best celebrity dads. That's really obvious, and I think anybody probably would have guessed that. If, however, maybe like this guy had been voted best celebrity dad. I mean, great man. That would be news, wouldn't it? So the salient point I'm trying to make here with no political message behind it whatsoever is if you run a survey and you get some data back and your data doesn't actually surprise you or isn't that interesting, leave it. Because you're wasting your time. Whenever you're doing something, you have to, I mean, this is a sad thing, you actually have to like what you're doing, and you also have to think it's quite interesting, because otherwise that translates. Okay, this is better death. This is from a PR agency. The difference in emails from PRs to SEOs is stark. So Disney's Mustafa, most iconic death film. I had all the data. It was much more interesting. The subject was just a little bit more engaging. Still, I guess it's not hugely, it's kind of still obvious that Mustafa, when he died, it was gut-wrenching, and I can't even talk about it on stage. But, like, it's a better email. It's a better email, so that's good. This is another one from an SEO agency, and this is somebody who was offering me an interview with somebody. Editorial inquiry interview with, hope you're well, very nice, blah, blah, blah. This article can be found here. What I found interesting in this was, I was wondering if you'd perhaps be interested in using it. Perhaps I could do a write-up for you. I appreciate you're really, really busy. However, it may be of interest to you. I'm really sorry, don't hate me. This isn't an enticing email. However, again, one from a PR, free interview with, happy Monday, great. And basically this email's like, here's the interview, here's how you should use it, I'm great, bye. I used that interview, I didn't use the one before. Now, this is something that I see relatively systemic across the difference between the way PR people outreach and the way SEOs outreach. And that's because all of our careers, for people who've been an SEO and have been doing it for a long time, all our careers, we've been kind of the naughty teenager of marketing. The amount of people that still say to me, oh, but SEO is a bit of a dark art, isn't it? I'm going to try and see whoever has heard the phrase SEO is a dark art. Okay, loads of you. By the way, fact, every time SEO is referred to as a dark art, a house elf dies. That's true. We've been told that it's a dark art. We've been told that we're just trying to get links and links. I literally don't know what just happened. No idea. I don't know why everyone's laughing. I literally don't. I'm freaking out. I'm just going to carry on. Maybe something to do with Dobby. I don't know. What is happening? What's happening? Is something on the screen?
Stacey's never seen Harry Potter.
She's reading the words wrong.
Oh, okay. Great. Right, that felt mean, guys. That felt like I was 7 years old again. No, having like, thanks, Stacey. True. Anyway, true fact. I'm gonna be totally honest. I have lost my thread a bit now. House elf dies. Yes. Yes. Very poignant. So as SEOs, we get told that what we're doing is dirty, that links are bad, links are spammy. Don't talk about building links. Call it driving lovely reach or something. Bloggers think that we're horrible. People think we're trying to break Google guidelines all the time, and we're not. And it's really sad. And actually, we don't need to approach people with this kind of awkward sense of, I'm sorry, I want to link, I'm sorry. We have cool stuff. In the talks I've seen, people are doing some really smart, awesome content and creating some great campaigns. And we absolutely have legitimacy to ring an editor at a massive newspaper and speak with the confidence in the way that PRs do. Thank you very much. I'm not finished. That was just me having a little rant. And what we can do is we can copy PRs, and we can use really sexy language like embargo and exclusive. There's a really good resource here of words and things that you can use so you can kind of mirror it. I have got a few more slides, but I'm really tight on time, so I think I am going to leave it there, actually. And thank you so much. You've been an awesome, awesome audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsty.
No worries.
Excellent presentation, and thanks to you for glamorizing journalists.
Yes.
Not that I have any skin in that game. So we have a couple of questions here I'd love to ask you.
Sure.
Just one second. Do you ever send out press releases? Do you send out press releases for all your content?
No. So, excuse me. If I'm creating like blog content, I won't be sending out press releases. But if I've done a specific campaign, i.e., I'm creating some content that I think will get some links, and I'm doing it for that purpose, then I will. There's two kinds of content. You create content to like capture demand, and you create content to earn links. So the latter, I'll always send a press release.
And this is my question. What is the #1 thing SEOs and PR people should stop doing? Because I found a lot of overlap.
Yes. Blanket sending out press releases, because there's been some awesome talks on like personalizing your emails, and that's exactly the same for when you're sending out a press release. And actually, no, the main thing, I had a slide on this, but I ran out of time, so I didn't talk about it. But the absolute main thing that we should all be doing is we should be outreaching over the phone. We probably need to send less emails and start picking up the phone, because that's how traditionally it's been done. And everybody's better on the phone than over email.
Absolutely. So how do we convince the C-suite to use these tactics?
Show them that it makes money. So you have to, one of the really difficult things about links is you have to quite tightly connect the dots between links increasing rankings, increasing revenue, but also driving awareness, increasing referral traffic. So it's the same as anything else. Start small and test it. I've got some case studies of some campaigns I did that took like a day that were really, really good, got some good links, increased some rankings, increased some traffic, and then once you've shown that something makes money, it becomes very easy to convince the C-suite.
So apparently somebody out there has a great sense of humor, because somebody asked, what if your insane idea gets accepted? Are you then screwed?
I did actually, yeah, I was thinking that. I mean, if your insane idea gets accepted, then you've got an amazing client, and you win, and then you get to do an insane idea. The insane idea has to be something that you could execute against.
What is one thing in your talk that you couldn't share, but you think that's important? That it's something that you see in your day-to-day work, that you feel like has great value to the people in this room?
Okay, so one thing that happens quite a lot is we will create some cool stuff, and maybe we'll do like an interactive infographic of something. We'll create it, we'll send it out, and we will think that being cited as the source of the creators of that content is enough to get links. That's not the case. You can't just be like, X brand created this thing. It doesn't really work, particularly for newspapers and press. There has to be a real specific reason to link. So host some stats on sites, give something extra that you would earn that link, as opposed to just being cited as the source of the creator of that content. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things I think about all the time is building a rapport. One of the things you learn very quickly as a journalist is that you need to build a rapport, that first soft touch. Do you recommend that be email, social media, friend to friend?
Social's great, so just be like a creepy Twitter stalker. It works really well. So journalists generally have interesting stuff to say. So if you have an outreach team or a PR team, they should be actively engaged on Twitter and chatting to journalists in like a normal way, and allow that to happen quite naturally and organically over a few months. Or also, there's tons of events. There's always media and PR events. So I think you just have to be present. If you can start doing things face to face, that's even better.
Thank you.
Not at all.
Let's give it up for Kirsty.
Thank you very much. Thank you.